All right. So I'm so happy to introduce our next speaker. So Captain Lewis did reference her in her talk. They have worked together and they do know each other. For our next presenter, she is a member of the U.S. Air Force Reserve, a flight attendant, a businesswoman, and an active member of the community, both in St. Louis and in Atlanta. She's the founder of the nonprofit Take Flight Girls, which is a group dedicated to empowering young women to pursue their interests in aviation, travel, entrepreneurship, and philanthropy. In fact, Take Flight Girls is largely responsible for helping to make this virtual Girls in Aviation Day possible, as well as our event in previous years. So please join me in welcoming Stephanie McCloud as she shares a multitude of opportunities that are available to young women in the aviation industry. Stephanie, you can take it from here.
Hello?
I hear you.
Okay. Are you able to see me?
Not yet. Now we do.
All right. Hi, guys. My name, like she was saying, it's Stephanie McCloud. I'm one of the founders of Take Flight Girls. A little bit about me first. Let's see. I'll go to show you guys my screen. I'm going to be quickly talking today about careers in aviation. As we kind of discussed throughout the time today, there's tons of opportunities in aviation. So who am I? I am, like Andy was saying, and so as Amy, I am in the United States Air Force Reserve as an aviation resource manager. Pretty much we do scheduling. We make sure that we handle operations of a flight, the system where crew members kind of change and make sure that they have their flight requirements and flight hours are up to date. I'm also a flight attendant for Delta Airlines. I've been in the flight attendant realm for commercial airlines for the last 8 or 9 years. I started with Continental and then they merged to United and I departed and went with Delta. I'm also one of the founders of Take Flight Girls, which is a nonprofit, which I'll explain a little bit more about that later. And I am a travel enthusiast, author, and serial entrepreneur. Have a couple of other ventures. So, like I was saying, I pretty much do a lot, but I love it. A lot of it's geared around the world of aviation. Aviation has always been a passion of mine. I started out in aviation a little bit later, but once into it, started to notice the ratio in women in aviation. So that's one of the pillars or reasons or motivations for Take Flight Girls starting. Take Flight Girls, our mission is to empower women. We're a nationally trademarked nonprofit on a mission to empower and expose girls to aviation, travel, and entrepreneurship. That is what we do. How do we do it? We do this by hosting events with partnering schools, organizations, and businesses such as St. Louis Parks College and other organizations like Women in Aviation, hosting the Girls in Aviation Day. So why do we do it? So that's our main reason. We do this because our founders saw how the lack of exposure led to the lack of knowledge when entering the aviation industry as a female. We all, the founders, which the other two, one is a air traffic controller and the other one is a private jet pilot, or sorry, not private jet pilot, private jet flight attendant. We noticed the disadvantages we had due to the lack of exposure to aviation in our upbringing and in our community. So we wanted to change that, and we started Take Flight Girls in St. Louis, and we branched to Atlanta, Georgia as well. Here's just some pictures of all of the events we've done in the past. We've hosted Girls in Aviation Days. We hosted seminars. We do a lot of philanthropy things, such as giving back during the holidays. We try to do scholarships. We partner with Girl Scouts and other organizations around both of those cities. So I'll jump right into careers, right? There are tons of careers in aviation, yet majority of people are unaware of the endless opportunities within the industries, especially girls. Some of the most popular careers even have specialty positions within the aviation and aerospace fields. One of my main goals in life and mission for Take Flight Girls, like I said earlier, was to provide more exposure and knowledge base of opportunities to minimize the gender gaps that we now see and face in aviation industries for girls. So to get you going on what those type of jobs are for you, kind of what type of degrees you need to seek and what classes you need to take even before thinking about going to college. According to the Federal Aviation Administration, FAA, women make up about 7.9% of all pilots here in the US and 30% of non-pilot careers, which is really, really low. It's probably one of the worst industries where female representation is. The number of one main reason is the lack of exposure, which, like I said, we here at Tech Fight Girls try to do. Events such as this, hosted by, like I said, St. Louis University Parks and College of Engineering, Technology, Women in Aviation, and us main objective is to expose, engage, and excitement for aviation. So let's get started. Pilots. So as Andy was just saying in the previous slide, aircraft pilots are the most known type of careers. Person who controls an aircraft. She kind of touched bases with the salary. This is a rough estimate because there's tons of different types of pilots. Here's a few: commercial, which is what Andy does. And then there's private pilots, those who fly for, say, Coca-Cola and other bigger businesses, or actual people who own planes that don't actually fly them themselves. And military pilot, which Andy is as well, and then you have sports pilots. Flight attendant, also an air hostess, is a member of the air crew aboard an aircraft who's primarily responsible for passenger safety and comfort. This is what me and Andy, or Captain Lewis, first started and met each other as. The salary kind of ranges here as well. It's from 18 to up in the 112 range. There's different types. There's commercial, which is for airlines such as United and Southwest, Delta. And then there's private, just like on the pilot side, where you fly families and businesses and corporations. And then also with commercial, you have things like UPS and DHL that moves cargo and mail and things like that. And then you have the government type of flight attendants, which was what Captain Lewis was speaking on. Third, we have an air traffic controller, who is a ground-based personnel and equipment concerned with monitoring and controlling air traffic. Within a particular airspace, their salary is from $44,000 to in the 150s. There's 3 different types: en route, terminal, and tower. And that pretty much goes with the phases of flight. So that's how they kind of break the types down for air traffic controllers. Air maintenance technicians are people who are referred to as licensed technicians, qualified for carrying out aircraft maintenance by repairing, inspecting, and performing supervised maintenance, preventative maintenance, repairs, alterations of aircraft and aircraft systems. Tons of air maintenance technician positions available throughout tons of airlines. This is one of the main shortages, especially in the female range. There are 3 types of air maintenance technicians, or AMTs as they call it, which is line maintenance, maintenance certified technician for category B, and then there's maintenance certified technician for avionics, category B. These are trade school bachelor careers after that, particularly. So a lot of people start off usually as AMTs and kind of go into something else after that. This is one that a lot of people don't know exists. It's an aviation attorney or aviation lawyer. An aviation lawyer is a specialty lawyer that handles aviation-related cases in commercial or general aviation. Their salary ranges from 77,000 to about 142. They study aviation law, and it's just a specialty of law. Um, they handle accidents. They handle just kind of anything in aviation that's legal. Flight nurse. A flight nurse is a specialty registered nurse who provides comprehensive pre-hospital emergency critical care and hospital care to a vast scope of patients. A lot of people don't know these exist. The salary ranges from 50,000 to 99,000. Just like the attorneys, this is just a specialty in the nursing field. The types are rescue and life flight, meaning some people that live in like rural areas that need to be helicopter and helipad into hospitals. They usually send out a team that includes a nurse so that we can ensure their safe arrival into a hospital. And then we have the military, which does the same. Aerospace engineers. An aerospace engineer evaluates designs to see that the products meet engineering principles. They design primary aircraft, spacecraft, satellites, and missiles. You see the salary, same 60 to 153. There's two different types, aeronautical and astronautical. So I think that was pretty interesting to see that there's two types of aerospace engineers. Avionic engineer is a worker whose aerospace industry design and developing aircraft, spacecraft, satellites, missiles, electronic equipment used on them. So the difference between this one and the one slide before is they work on the systems. And just like you see below, the types are system engineers, software engineers, electrical engineers. So they work on the system that kind of tells the pilots on where to go, the systems that, navigating systems, and there's tons of systems in all of these type of equipment, so just the system. So anything electrical, software-based would be under avionics. Aviation safety inspectors are inspectors that perform regularly or routine, random plane inspections and make sure that the planes and airlines and government facilities are running safely. They're usually employed by the FAA, which is the Department of Defense sector. Some types are general, which is 12,500 pound or under aircraft, and the air carrier, which is a 12,500 pound aircraft or above. And those are the different types. And sometimes airlines have their own inspectors as well to make sure they're following their guidelines or the FAA has brought to them. Flight instructor. A flight instructor is a person who teaches others to operate aircraft. Again, their salary ranges because it depends on the different types. The types that we have down here are flight instructor for single engine, which are CFIs, and then you have flight instructor CF1, I'm sorry, and CF2 for all other. There are a few other ones that pretty much teach like maybe helicopter flight instructors. So those will be different a little bit. And their salary will range a little bit as well. Sorry, guys. Aircraft interior design. This is one that a lot of people don't really mention. Designer makes functional, safe, and beautiful on aircrafts. There are also essential and decorative items like colors, lighting, and materials. So the seats that you sit on, the bathrooms that you go to, all of that is designed by an aircraft interior designer. There's three types: private, business jets, commercial airlines, and government. The private business kind of do, like I said, for the private jets, they do the interior. They've done like Puma, Nike, things like that. Same thing for government. Okay. And then we have aviation aircraft painters who are responsible for preparing and applying primers and paints for the purpose of protection and beautifying airplanes and other aircraft. Their salary ranges from 23,000 to about 56,000. Um, they are they are pretty much graphic designers as well. They go to school to perfect their painting skills, so that takes a lot. There also is airline ramp agents. Airline ramp agents are responsible for marshaling aircraft, loading, unloading, and sorting freight and baggage, services for aircraft assisting with pushback and towing, and other assigned duties. This is a job that you probably can get while still in school. Specific type depends on the role within the airline. So some of the other unique types of aviation careers are listed here, and I just briefly tell you a little bit about them. I don't have specific types and their salary, but some of them get paid pretty big bucks, and these are careers that a lot of people, especially females, don't even know that they exist. So like in-flight magazine and writers and editors, these are writers that do the magazines that are in the seat pockets. They pick out particular articles depending on different routes and depending on different airlines. Airline Somalians, they pick out, sorry, that's missed up. They pick out different wine selections for private commercial airlines. They get paid pretty big bucks. Airline CEOs, of course, run the show, you know. Aviation resource managers, that's actually one of the things I do. We handle a little bit of scheduling and just the resource day-to-day functions, kind of like HR, essentially. Same thing with flight operations. They make sure, you know, even to like parking spaces and things like that at aircraft, on the, sorry, landing and just things like that. They kind of help ATC out. Flight simulation software developers, these are people who actually develop software for the simulators. Of course, astronauts, flight doctors and flight surgeons, those are the same as a flight nurse, but a doctor. Airline veterinarian, this is a really new one. Airline veterinarians, a lot of the new airlines have now hired veterinarians to make sure that our furry friends are flying safe, and if they're under the plane or in the belly of the plane in cargo, they make sure that it's pressurized or have the certain things necessary to fly. Aerial firefighting, these are pilots that kind of fight the fires, similar to like what's going on in California. There's probably a few aerial firefighters helping out in that. Airport managers, they run the airport day-to-day functions with, you know, working with airlines, working with other vendors in the airlines or in the airport, and working with the local, state, and community guidelines and laws. Airline chefs, that's a smaller entity too. They usually are at the training centers teaching flight attendants pretty much how to cook. And they also speak with or coordinate with airlines to make up the menus on what is served on planes. So that is pretty much my brief overall on careers in aviation. I wanted to, you know, give girls or open girls the doors, you know, opportunities to know about these careers, so that you're not just narrowing your search or your, I guess, passion for aviation can go beyond just your typical aviation career. So if you have any questions, and I do apologize about my background. I am in Mexico right now on a boat in the water. So sorry if it was a little bit choppy. That's why.
Oh my goodness. Well, thank you again for joining us from your travel adventure. Again, if anyone has questions, please submit those to the Q&A or to the chat feature in YouTube. So Stephanie, we have a few questions already. As a businesswoman in aviation, what are some of the mistakes that you wish you could have avoided?
Perfect question. Some of the mistakes that I wish I could have avoided was schooling and funding. There's a whole bunch of scholarships that women in aviation, St. Louis University, even like military or community scholarships and funding that was available for girls in aviation, and I wasn't aware of those. So I would have probably, I guess, saved myself some college debt by knowing about those earlier on. So I would say definitely learning about the resources, finding out other organizations that will help you because, you know, of the gender gap. There's a lot of resources available for, you know, financial aid pretty much.
Yeah, I agree. I know on our side of it is trying to communicate all of those opportunities, and it just seems like there is so much funding out there, and it's simply the challenge is finding it and
Yes.
and connecting students with the opportunities.
Yes.
That's a great response. Um, could you tell us about some times that you may have experienced adversity and doubt? I think that might be a theme among lots of women in the industry, just because our numbers are so small. But can you tell us about experiencing adversity and doubt and how you've handled that?
Yeah, definitely. I think definitely one of my biggest moments that I remember in high school was wanting to go into aviation, but being steered away from aviation because of the, like I said, the stereotypes and being guided into a healthcare industry. And so I kind of still spun it around because I did go into the healthcare in the Air Force. So it was still aviation essentially. I think that with finding mentors and people that are in the same kind of or have the same passion or uh, have the same drives as you, even if they're out of your community, which is what I had to do. There was no one at my school thinking about the Air Force. We didn't have an Air Force recruiter, or we didn't have anything in aviation. STEM was still um, not as prevalent as it is now. But even some STEM courses didn't touch on aviation. So I had to go outside my community, and so I think um, giving advice to anyone, if you face adversity, don't worry about it. Find someone else or another circle, a welcoming circle that will welcome you and have those same passions that you do.
Oh my gosh, that's just great advice for anything that you want to pursue in life, I think. That was a nice callback to an earlier session we had this morning, and someone brought up role models. So can you talk a little bit more about that? How do you find a role model? How would a
Yes.
student get connected?
Yes, well, that's kind of what another goal of ours at Take Black Girls. Though we may not be able to mentor you directly, we hope to have a lot of people. We work with tons of women aviators that possibly could mentor you or find mentorship programs for you, or circles or organizations that fit your needs. So sometimes your mentor or people in your like I said, industry or the industry you want to go into may not be, around to touch, but there may be a phone call or a Zoom or email. People are definitely willing to open up to you on their career path. For example, Captain Lewis told you kind of her stumbles on how she got to where she is today. She didn't take a direct path to be a pilot. She kind of went around different things for various reasons. But her and I both look up to a captain at in at Delta, and she's a huge mentor to both of us. Even though we are different types of or different roles of aviation. So we don't necessarily get to see her face to face because we all live in different states, but we'll shoot her an email or a text or something like that. So I think mentorship and fellowship with people and girls, particularly that are in your same career path or have that experience or seeing someone with the experience can help you, um, you know, get to your goals.
I wholeheartedly agree. Yes, and I hope that that is a great takeaway message that everybody got from today. Is just there every most everyone is excited to tell you if you're interested, to answer your questions, to share their
Yes.
experiences. It's the aviation community is definitely very welcoming. Stephanie, could you tell us some memorable moments that you've had in your aviation career in all of your different job roles?
Oh wow. Okay. Let's see. Some aviation moments. I would say definitely being a flight attendant. My first go around in our training, I realized that it wasn't as easy as just pushing a cart down the aisle, serving drinks and peanuts. I actually had memories of the time that I was in basic training for the Air Force. I'm like, oh my gosh, so similar. This is more so similar to, you know, um, being in basic training than, flight. So I would say definitely there. Also, taking flight lessons of my own, building that confidence to solo on my own. I think that that is a huge accomplishment because you have to have a lot of faith and in yourself and a lot of self-esteem to know that you are in control of this plane or aircraft and it's me, So I think it builds up a lot of courage to solo. I think it's another pivotal moment was realizing that my two friends from childhood were entering aviation as well and having similar obstacles as I. And we were all linking back up in college and forming Take Fly Girls in 2014. So that was huge for me as well. And I think um, being able to talk and mentor and see some of the girls that I talked to in the last few years become pilots or are in college, taking up degrees in aviation. Um, I think speaks volumes and warms my heart and is one of my proudest moments in my aviation career.
Oh, I love that. Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm.
That about concludes our time, Stephanie. But I want to again say thank you so much for this
Show you
whole wealth of information. Oh my goodness.
Surroundings right now. So yeah, so I'm really
Much
stoked
better.
that my Wi-Fi was amazing. So
Well,
thank you for having me.
Yes, thank you again for joining us. And can I also guess that a perk of your career is that you get to travel?
Yeah, right now
Like
I'm
on your
currently in
vacation now?
Mexico. Yes. So it definitely gives a lot of flexibility.
Lovely,
So
lovely. Yes, you work hard, you get to play hard. So that's great. Thank you again, Stephanie. I'm going to send you back to the attendee side now.
thank you. Okay.
Okay, well, thank you again to our wonderful presenters, both Captain Lewis and Miss Stephanie McCloud. Both of them are phenomenal role models and examples of what a career in aviation can mean and how that can change and keep changing with your interests over time.